Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking Only Murders in the Building, episode 7. It's titled The Boy from 6B, and what an episode it was. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to do a recap and review of this episode. I'm going to take you guys through the whole episode and give you guys my rating on it after. Before we get into it, though, please make sure you like the video. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new here. You can keep up with all the new movies, TV shows, talk about all that stuff. But let's get into episode 7. So as we know from last episode, Teddy the sponsor is now our prime suspect. So the episode starts out with Teddy, but it's actually a flashback. He's talking to his deaf son, Theo, a new character who we just learned about this episode. And so he's spending time with them, and he's listening to music, and he wishes that his son could listen to the same music he does. So he kind of like gets too aggressive with Theo, puts these headphones on, and kind of like is trying to force him to hear it. He keeps putting the volume up, it doesn't work. So he gets a little bit too aggressive, but he apologizes after. I really enjoyed this scene. I thought it was a great opening. I thought it was actually really powerful. I loved how throughout the whole episode, it's kind of like a POV from Theo's eyes. I enjoy the movies like Sound of Metal and Coda. They do a really great job of depicting sign language as like a POV. And it's just, this episode did another great job at showing that. So then we are brought to present day Theo, who is spying on Mabel, Charles, and Oliver. He's able to lip read their whole conversation from the window of his apartment. So he reads what they're all saying, and then he decides to go into their apartment, and he looks at the evidence on the board. And it shows him looking at the evidence and getting worried, and then we're brought into our opening credits. So then Theo goes back to his father, Teddy, and kind of tells him that, like, you know, these people are onto us. You know, he looks at the evidence and say that they're onto us. He doesn't really state exactly what it is that they've done or why he's worried. But Teddy kind of brushes him off and says, you know, says that line, keep your friends close but your enemies closer. So this is where I thought this episode could actually start being really good, because this is evidence that Teddy is not really just another suspect. Like, he actually has something going on. He's actually hiding something. Like, it's in our face now with Theo. And I really enjoy that, because our last couple episodes, one of my main nuances with this show is that, sort of with murder mysteries, they can kind of fall into the same tropes where it's like, you know this person's not the suspect. It's like, we're not at the end of the show yet, or the movie. You know, unless it's sort of like Knives Out, which is another murder mystery, but it's more intricate. You know, you can kind of like have your own theories of who's this and who's that, and it's short enough to where, you know, it doesn't feel like too much. Where in a show, like a murder mystery show, it could become tiresome and repetitive when we're just going from one suspect to the other, and we know that this person isn't it. So I sort of thought this episode was going to be like Teddy was going to be just another person we check off the list that's not a suspect. But as we see it by the end of this episode, he actually has a lot of baggage. But after that scene with Theo and Teddy, we're brought back to another flashback. But this time it's Theo spying again, but this time it's on Mabel and her friends. And so he's spying through his little hole, and Zoe, the one who's pushed off of the roof and died, she sees him spying, and she's able to communicate with him through sign language, and kind of reinstates that she thinks that he's hot. And then on New Year's, Theo bumps into Zoe, and she takes his ring off his finger. That's the green diamond ring from last episode. And then they tell us that the father wants the ring back. We're then brought back to Mabel and Oliver, who are still investigating Teddy and Theo and everything, and they find out that Theo is a grave robber. So right after this revelation, we're brought to the most important flashback of this series so far, and it's on New Year's Eve party, and Theo sees Zoe and Oscar arguing. They're dating, obviously. We know who Oscar is. He's the tie-dye guy, shirt guy, right? And so after they're done arguing, Theo goes up to Zoe and kind of checks in on her and asks her if she's okay, and then Oscar is no good for her. And then he asks for the ring back because she still has the green diamond ring on. So he asks for it back because he says that it's his father's and that he'll one day get her a real ring. So Zoe sort of laughs at him for saying this, and then she states that she's done with all boys. She starts to get really angry and says to stop psychoanalyzing her. She kind of shoves him first, and they start shoving each other, and Zoe falls off the roof and falls to her death. And then, so it's revealed, so that was already a big revelation, that Theo was the one that pushed Zoe off the roof, accidentally or not, right? But then it's revealed that Tim Kono saw the whole thing. Tim Kono watched this whole altercation happen. After this, Theo returns to his father. He's obviously very upset. He starts vomiting. You know, he just killed someone. And Teddy kind of tells him that he'll fix it. So then we see that Teddy goes to Tim Kono and kind of like threatens him and says, do not say anything or you'll end up dead like Zoe. He also threatens Mabel. Along with Theo, they both kind of threaten Tim Kono and say that if you say anything, you'll end up dead, or you and Mabel will end up dead like Zoe. And then we're brought to the present day where present day Theo, has Mabel and Oliver in the back of his van. Mabel has a phone and she's calling Charles, telling Charles to try Theo as the password for Tim Kono's phone. If you remember, the cop gave Mabel Tim Kono's phone that was lost in the evidence. They was never brought into the investigation team, so she decides to give it to Mabel. So Charles has Tim Kono's phone now. Mabel tells Charles to try Theo as the password, and the episode ends with Charles putting in Theo, and it works. The phone is now unlocked for Tim Kono's phone, and that's how the episode ends. So I'm going to give you guys my rating for the episode right now. I'm giving it a 4.2 out of 5. This is the highest rating I've given for this series so far. For each episode, I've kind of rated around the 3.5, 3.6 range. It was always like, I enjoyed it. You know, it was kind of like the comedic elements didn't work for me. This episode, there was like one comedic moment. They really focused on just unraveling the puzzle, furthering the story of Teddy and introducing Theo as this really interesting character. A lot of our questions were answered in this episode. The whole green diamond ring and what went on there, how Zoe died and who actually did it, and the fact that Tim Kono saw that, it's all very interesting. This now gives a clear motive for Teddy and Theo, to the ones that killed Tim Kono. I'm still not sure if they were the ones that killed Tim Kono, just because it's been so many years since Zoe's death. Like, why all of a sudden, unless Tim Kono was planning to come out and say something, maybe because of that jewelry stuff. We still didn't get too many answers with the jewelry and Angel and stuff like that. But like I said, I really love the whole sign language POV of this episode. I also have some questions on why Tim Kono's password was Theo. If you guys have any sort of theories on that, maybe they ended up, I don't know. I don't want to say they ended up liking each other, but usually like when you have a password of someone's name on your phone, it's your boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Why would Tim Kono's phone have Theo as his password? I just don't know. But yeah, so we have an actual real suspect now. Like I said earlier in this video, I thought this episode was going to be just chalking it up as Teddy is not a suspect. Obviously, he's a real suspect now, and it's going to be continuing probably until the end of this series that Teddy and Theo are the main suspects. I don't see us going a different route, kind of investigating someone else. I think it's just going to be these guys and seeing maybe some more flashbacks and just furthering the mystery. Now that even Theo has Mabel and Oliver in the back of his van, what's he going to do? Is he going to kill them? You know, so like I said, best episode so far by far. Like, this was the best episode, better than all the rest by like a milestone. But I really did love it. I kind of wish Steve Martin played a bigger role. You know, like this was really just all about Theo. You know, maybe that's why it worked, because he was more interesting than any other character in the show so far. But I do miss that Charles and Oliver Mabel chemistry. Hopefully next episode we focus more on that. And it looks like maybe Charles Brazo is going to have to come to the rescue for Mabel and Oliver. Really interested in that. So hyped for that. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you think of the series so far. Please let me know any theories you have. But like always, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And I'll see you in the next video.